What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the new year and a new episode of the Talking to the Dog Benfica podcast, episode number 225. My name is Alfredo. I'm here with Steve Santos. What's going on, Steve?
Happy New Year, Alfredo. Happy New Year to all our listeners out there in internet land.
That's right.
It's another year, another podcast,
Another year, another podcast. There you go. You've been waiting all year to say that.
I have.
Anyway, Cristiano couldn't be with us tonight. I think he's holding out for a transfer to a better paid podcast, if you will. But he couldn't be here with us tonight. Hopefully, we could break up his contract negotiations and bring him back next week. We miss Cristiano. He hasn't been here for a while now. Last time I should say, he wasn't here. Then we took a break.
I thought he was here the last time, but he wasn't here for a while before that.
That's right. He was here. So let's get this started on tonight's podcast. We will look back at the Rio Ave game, which seems like an eternity ago. We'll also look back at the Paços Ferreira game, which was for the Taça da Liga. That was the last game of the year. Most recently, Benfica played Vizela. We'll also talk a little bit about that. And we'll look ahead to Guimarães, which comes up this weekend. And also look to the month of January to see what Benfica's got going on. And also, there's been some transfer news today. Player was announced, so we'll discuss a little bit of transfer news. Let's get right into this. Rio Ave game, fifth part of the 15th round for the domestic championship. Benfica played Rio Ave. Rio Ave coming into this game while riding a game winning streak, possibly being able to beat, if they beat Benfica, an historical streak for them with 5 wins in a row. But Benfica wasn't going to have any of that. I'll give you the lineup real quick. Ederson was in goal. Semedo, Luizão, Lindelof, and Almeida. Feza and Pizzi in the middle. Rafa and Servi on the wings. Guedes and Mitroglou up front. Steve, pretty much straightforward lineup. This was actually the last game that we've seen Lindelof play. Benfica has played 2 games after that, and Lindelof hasn't played either one of them. There was talks about Lindelof leaving to Manchester United. That has cooled off. There was also news in the English media and the Portuguese media saying that Benfica or that Manchester United had given up on Lindelof. To me, Steve, as far as that goes, I think that that deal is very much alive.
So do I. He hasn't been even called to the 2 Taça da Liga matches. I hate to say it, but I think the move is more or less imminent. We'll just have to keep an eye on it, like I always like to say. But two games in a row, not even making the squad is a sign of something. We'll see what happens. I don't know if he's making too much noise and Rui Vitória is kind of like putting him aside and say, listen, nothing's going on, so you just hang tight and smarten up, or if there is in fact something very close to happening and they're just making sure he doesn't get injured and might put a hamper on the money coming in. So I'll have to look, but it looks to me, it looks like the move. It looks more like the second thing, and I think he's going to be there any day now. There is an obvious lack of quality at the center back position out there. And at United, and I think he probably would fit quite well, and Mourinho thinks the same. So,
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But getting back to the game, Rio Ave, Steve, a very good Rio Ave team that has been improving ever since Capucho left. Of course, this was a Rio Ave that beat Sporting while Capucho was there. They beat him at the time, something like that. They took points away from Sporting.
They bet him quite handily. I think it was like 3-1 or something like that.
You're absolutely right. But a Rio Ave team that's been impressing the past games, and you could speak a little bit more on what you saw Rio Ave. For me, Rio Ave, very well organized, compressed, and high.
Yeah. Extremely well organized in the defensive phase, like you say, compressed and high. What I was impressed with, what I liked from Rio Ave was their possession based build up phase. I mean, they always were very keen on making sure they had numerical advantage in both where the ball was and the area they wanted to put the ball. So it seemed like they were always um, getting out when they built up from the back, and they always got to the creation zone of the pitch and more or less the final third, and that's where I think they're kind of lacking. They don't have the player that could unbalanced sides. They don't have the player that creates the mismatches. They don't have that player that, whether it's with a pass or with a dribble, that in the final third makes the difference. And that's where I think they went missing, and where we prospered. I mean, we have those players. If Pizzi had a fantastic game in that aspect, um, and they just don't have that, and that's what was missing for them. If I remember right, this game was a while ago. I think the timing of our goal in this one was also
Yeah.
similar to the Sporting game, where the timing was they're on a good phase. They feel comfortable in the match. They feel confident, and then we score. What is it? I don't know if you have the stats there, but I think it's 30th minute or something.
42nd minute. There was the second
42nd
goal.
minute.
So
Ju-
yeah, Mitroglou got 1-0 in the 14th minute, and Pizzi in the 42nd minute. So right where perhaps Riwav felt that they were going to take the game into the half and they were going to make a few adjustments, we get that goal right before the half, which is oftentimes the worst time to give up a goal on a team, either at the end of the half or in the beginning of the half. So I think that took a little bit of wind out of their sails. But I think I agree with you. I think that the final third they were lacking quite a bit. They were very well organized in defense in their first and second phase of construction, but I think in the final third they were lacking perhaps something that they can improve on, or getting something. I heard that Gonzalo Paciencia maybe headed their way, if I'm not mistaken, from what I read. But this seems like a very good Chihuahua team, and this team is going to give problems to a lot of teams this year, especially the bigger teams, I think.
yeah, I think Sporting and Porto would have trouble with them at this point, especially um, Sporting in the phase that they're going now. I don't think they are too excited to play Rio Ave at home, but we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. So 2-0 for Benfica. Benfica finishes the year with 4 more points than what they had last year in the league. So that's quite a feat for Benfica. Pizzi also, there was a lot of talk about Pizzi picking up a second yellow and subsequent. So apparently there was something that was going on, kind of a loophole in the rules, if you will. Um, PT picked up a yellow. Apparently, his yellow at the Riwav would have had him out against Guimarães, which was the first league game, the next league game, I should say. And when he picked up the red, that automatically cleaned him up for the Guimarães. So the yellow wouldn't have had him suspended for the League Cup, but the red made sure that he got this. He sat out for the League Cup and also cleaned up his record for Guimarães. So a little bit of a loophole. Rui Vitória says that they didn't do it on purpose. They didn't know or were aware. But look, there's guys. Benfica has guys that are paid to think about this. The technical teams think of every little aspect and every little detail, and I very much doubt that somebody wasn't thinking about this, especially because of the body language. And I actually had a chance to watch the game yesterday, especially because of the body language of Pizzi, where it almost looked like he was fishing for that yellow card, where
The second.
he was talking crap to the referee, and he let him go, and then he just took too long, and sure enough, you got that second yellow. But look, it's part of the game. You got to be smart, and you got to win games on these little details, and be smart on these lead little details. And I don't blame Benfica one bit for having done it.
Same. I mean,
So
there's always systematic fouling, professional fouls when you want to stop a counterattack. There's there's dirty loopholes to the game, and that's just what it comes down to. And if you're not going to fault people purposely fouling somebody to stop a counterattack, whether or not it's a yellow card offense or not, you can't start talking about uh, bending the rules in your favor when you can like that. I mean, you just can't. There's no argument.
Yeah, that's right. Well, how does it go? What's good for the duck, it's good for the geese, something like
What's
that.
good for the goose is good for the gander, or something like that.
I don't know. I
Male and
I'm
female geese.
I'm the worst thing with these little sayings, these popular sayings. So anyway, the next game for Benfica was the Passo Ferreira game, and that was really the last game of the year. That was a game for the first round of the League Cup, the Taça CTT. I'll give you the lineup. Ederson was in goal. Semedo, Luizão, and Jardel. Almeida was a left back. Feza and Celis in the middle. Rafa and Servi on the wings. Gedge and Jimenez up front. So uh, not much going on in this game. A fairly boring game. Benfica did get the win. There was just an opportunity here for guys to get back. Jardel hasn't played in quite some time. He did look like he's been working out hard and that he's ready. He got another chance to play against Vizela, albeit not a big competition, but Jardel is looking like he's fit enough to step in and fill in for Lindelof. Also,
Lindelof.
yeah, for Lindelof, and also Celis getting an opportunity also to feature in the middle with Fesa. I gotta be honest, the game was a long time ago. I don't even remember if I watched this game or not. But a couple things here. But Benfica finishes the year with 44 wins. With this win in the calendar year, that ties. That is the most in Europe, if I'm not mistaken, tying Barcelona. So quite a record year for Benfica. Ricardo Horta, not Ricardo, Andre Horta returned, and Jonas got more minutes after playing against Rio Ave. He got more minutes. Servi gets the goal again. I think that Servi has now scored in every single competition. His first year, Super Cup, League, Champions League, Taça de Portugal, and now Taça CTT. Servi has scored in every single competition that Benfica has played. So not a lot to talk about this game. Pizzi set out, as we said. Lindelof also out for this game. Benfica grabs the 1-0 at Stade de Luge. And not much else. Much else. I don't know if you want to add anything else before we move on to the next one.
I think there was a very thought out plan by Rui Vitória on how many players he decided to rotate or bring into this game. I mean, he only has one player per sector that is quote unquote not first choice. Jardel comes in, gets some minutes. He might soon be first choice with Lindelof out in the window. Celis is a forced one because of Pizzi. And then whether you want to call Jimenez first choice or not, but he's definitely trying. For me, this game comes after a full week off, and he's trying to get his guys after Christmas, after that long layoff, back in focus, back ready to back to business, back to the swing of things, instead of and this match going with the more altered lineup. He chose to try to keep things tighter, which makes sense. The second match is against a lower division side, and this one's against Passos. I think it was the right move to play it the way he did, to be honest.
Yeah. So the biggest thing right here, Steve, and what we see is that there is not a clear substitute for Pizzi or a clear second choice or first choice off the bench for the number 8 position. We continue to see both Celis getting minutes. Samaris got minutes against Vizela. Danilo showed up, played against what was it, Sporting, then all of a sudden disappeared. So there's a huge thing right now with that 8 position. A lot of doubts surrounding that. Do you think that is healthy for the team? The fact that they don't have a clear substitution.
No, it's obviously not healthy. I mean, that number 8 position has been a position we've been very thin on for a good 4 years. I mean, it seems like we always had that one guy who was the starter, and then the second guy was always a very severe drop in quality. I think with Andre Horta coming back, you're going to see that he will end up being the second in line after Pizzi. But the Samari Celis thing is not looking as clear cut as I once thought it was. I mean, I watched a bit of the Passos game, and Celis didn't look great, but he didn't look much worse than what Samaris has been at that position lately. So it's something that if the rumors are true that Samaris has got market in Russia, I think we'll see Celis play a little bit more than we have in the first half of the season, in the second half, in this upcoming half now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, on to the next game. Benfica played Vizela in the second round of the League Cup. They played yesterday. Vizela from the Portuguese second division. I'll give you the lineup: Anderson, Almeida, Lisandro, Jardel, and Yuri. Samaris and Pizzi in the middle. Carrillo and Zivkovic in the wings. Jonas and Mitroglou. Let me start by saying this, Steve. Surprised at all that throughout these games, these League Cup games, Julio Cesar hasn't gotten any minutes?
Um, I don't think Julius Caesar is as fit as he needs to be. Personally, I don't. I remember there was the last game that Julius Caesar may have played. Period. What it was now I can't quote this for sure because I'm not positive, but he had a bit of a bad match in Napoli,
Yeah.
uh, and I don't know if he's played since. I'm sure somebody will know that and correct me if I'm wrong, but I honestly don't think that is Rui Vitoria saying I don't trust you and you're not going to play anymore. I personally think that Julius Caesar is at an age where he's having a hard time getting back into um, a physical and even mental state where he's competitive enough, and I think that's why he's kind of pushed aside. I don't think it's a vendetta against him, but we'll have to, like I always say, we'll have to see. But I don't think it's a
No.
vendetta.
No.
I just think it's a more a matter of competitive edge that he's probably missing at this point. Not it's not here. You're being punished.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's that either because I just don't think that Rui Vitória is that type of coach that would punish a player that way. And I get the point that the team was off for a little bit, and Rui Vitória needed to put the starters back out against Paços Ferreira after the Christmas break. But against Vizela, a second-tier team, not having any other goalie there other than Edison, I don't know. And again, I don't know if Julio Cesar is fully healthy, like you mentioned, but at least let's get Paul Lopez in there.
Yeah, I that's the move that I was kind of disappointed not to see because that's a that's a guy that deserves a reward here and there. Stays very quiet, does his job. I think he's very good for the team morale. He's the good guy to have around the locker room, Joker, experience, all of that. And I think this is the type of game that you could reward him and give him a 90 minutes that in the context of the game is shouldn't like the objective is always to win. But versus a team like Vizela, you got to expect that you should be able to play a guy like Lopes. So
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, definitely Vizela. I mean, you got Yuri from the juniors getting a chance over at left back, and you got Zivkovic, the guy that we've been talking up ever since Benfica signed him. And Zivkovic with 3 assists for 4 of the goals. Jonas got two, Mitro got one, and Lilu got one. So also, guys that have been out able to step in right away and hit the ground running. I know that it's against Vizela, and look, we can't be talking too much in regards to the game because of the level opposition. But to see Lilo grab a goal after not having played for a bit, and then Jonas finally getting on a scoreboard for since for the 4 months that he's been out, finally getting that goal or 2 goals. It's encouraging and it's motivating for the team. Mitroglou seems to have gained a new life now that with Jonas coming in, and Cristiano often says this, that Mitroglou is very Jonas dependent. That Jonas opens up a lot of space for Mitroglou to step into. So it's encouraging to see the team, and albeit against a very weak team or from a lower level, it's encouraging to see Benfica getting guys healthy again, scoring goals, and getting guys motivated to play the rest of the season.
Definitely. I mean, the Jonas one is the huge one. I have Jonas is like our best January transfer signing. If he comes on and produces what we know he can produce in the second half of the season, it's the odds of us winning the league are a lot better if Jonas is fit and scoring goals and doing the other things on the pitch that he does so well, interplay and bringing in his teammates. So it's going to be good.
Yeah, well, hopefully with Jonas coming in, Rafa won't have the need to score many goals because he really is not all that great scoring goals. So I'm hoping that Rafa can create a lot for those guys. And look, Rafa has been growing into his own. And with the emergence of Jonas and these guys coming in, it's good. What I'm seeing all of a sudden, I know that we were talking a little bit before we went on air, is Gonçalo Guedes. He seems to have hit a little bit of a roadblock. He's not playing as well. Seems to be getting rolled up with the ball, un trapalhão with the ball. He just doesn't seem that decisive guy, that direct guy, the guy that was putting in the effort and was getting things done during the period, maybe about I would say a month ago, that he is now. Do you think he's feeling the pressure of guys coming on healthy and perhaps being squeezed out of the side?
Uh, I would assume he'd have to feel pressure. I mean, he's been playing in a role that is tailor made for our best player, Jonas. He obviously has improved a lot in that role, but he has difficulties. I mean, uh, you'll see within as Gedge has struggled, teams have played him differently. They've given him no room to turn and face the game because they know that if he's running at you, this is when he's his most dangerous. But he doesn't have the skill set to be able to turn himself very easily because um, he doesn't know how to incorporate his teammates so he can play a 1-2 and then face the game. He doesn't have the awareness of his surroundings like a Rafa does, like a Servi does, where his first touch will open him to face the game and face the net. So he's struggling with that. Um, you look at all these things and you think that yeah, he's going to be probably the first one to get the axe now that Jonas is back. But my gut instinct is that it's probably going to be Servi at this point. I think we'll have to we'll see, but my gut is that Rafa will play on the left and Gedge will play on the right. Gedge is the poster boy, let's say, for this new Benfica, this maiden Benfica um, that we're trying to put forward now. And I don't think that Rui Vitoria is going to very easily drop his poster boy. I might be wrong, but I think he's going to give him a fair shot on the wing before he benches him or before he becomes second string.
Yeah. The thing with Geds is, I know that the effort is there and the willpower is there and the strength is there. I just think for me, I think that Servi is much more efficient on the wing than Geds is. I think that Geds is not a clear cut wing guy as opposed to Servi or even Zivkovic, if you will. I think that Geds is a more interior guy.
I don't disagree. Uh, I personally am dying to see Getz play up front as the number 9, as the guy who plays off the shoulder of the center backs. But I don't know if I'll see that with Rui Vitoria or ever. But my gut is, you know how Chris always likes to say Rui Vitoria has his guys and Pizzi's one of his guys, where I obviously completely disagree with that angle. I you guys all know how much I like Pizzi, but I think Gonçalo Guedes along with Salvio are kind of one of his guys, and I think they're always going to get the first look and get the benefit of the doubt to see whether or not they can perform before they get the axe. So
Yeah.
that's my feeling.
Yeah, but Steve, when you say Pizzi playing at nine, that kind of goes against what you just mentioned.
Get
I'm sorry, Gedge playing at nine. That kind of goes against what you mentioned, that he doesn't have the skill set to play with his back to the goal. That he likes to
that's
have
why
the field in front of him.
that's why I think Gedge at nine would be interesting because you have Jonas, who is very good at finding the pockets of space behind the defense for Gedge to be facing the net, running at it basically. You know those little balls over the top, the through ball. With Jonas, also you're gonna have a lot. As soon as he touches the ball, you have a lot of commotion coming towards him. Everyone focuses on him. You have Gedge, who at that point should be able to with this newfound um, movement that he has, because that I have to give him. He's very good at finding spaces where he can get on the ball. It's just where he seems to lack is how he uses the ball when he gets it. But if he still finds the ways to get into space further up the pitch, on top of the last man, facing the goal, I personally think that Gedge would be a very good nine, and just in that sense. I don't know if he's got the cool veins to be a finisher, but I think he would get himself into a lot of opportunities because of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the way you describe it, it almost seems that you would have to have Jonas up top and then Gedge coming from the back into the combinations, not necessarily Gedge being up top. But I do understand what you're saying as far as the combinations and what Jonas could do for Gedge, and Gedge having the ability to pop into space. I just don't think that Gedge could play in very limited spaces. But then again, with Jonas setting him up, who knows what kind of space he will have. I mean, he's definitely not a guy like Mitroglou who operates on small spaces. So,
No,
yeah, so we'll see. So, second game of the League Cup is done. We have one more against Guimarães, which comes up in January. In January, we got quite a few games, Steve. So on the 7th, Guimarães for the league. This is a normal game for the league. We travel to the Afonso Henriques. Then on the 10th, we will travel again to the Afonso Henriques to play Guimarães. That's the last game of the League Cup. Benfica leads Guimarães by 3 points or 2 points, if I'm not mistaken, in the League Cup table. Then we have Boa Vista at home on the 14th. We have Leixões also at home on the 18th. That's for the Portuguese Cup. And then on the 21st, we got Tondela at home. And then we finish the month by traveling to Setúbal. Not a very far drive for Benfica, but facing a Setúbal who seem to be re-energized after beating Sporting tonight for the League Cup. But quite a very busy month of January for Benfica, and it's very good that a lot of these guys are. So we'll just have to keep an eye on what Benfica does for January, and again building momentum into February, going into the Champions League, having a very difficult game in Germany and also in Portugal against Dortmund. Benfica needs to pick up some of the momentum in January in order to make sure that we that we build up that winning streak, something that we put together last year that helped us or propelled us to the title. So we'll just have to see. Coming up, as I mentioned, Guimarães for the Portuguese domestic championship. Guimarães is currently 15th with 9 wins, 3 ties, and 3 losses. At home, 3 wins, 3 ties, and 1 loss. Last 5 at the Dom Afonso Henriques against Guimarães. Benfica got 3 wins, 1 tie, and lost 1. Last 10 head-to-head between the two teams, 8 wins for Benfica, 1 loss, and 1. Steve, Guimarães is always hard, always gives us a hard time when we travel up there.
Definitely. It's one of the more difficult stadiums in Portugal because when you go there as Benfica, you probably it might be 50-50 in terms of fan base. Vitoria's got a very strong fan base in Guimarães. Um, the atmosphere is always quite good, loud. Pedro Martins is a coach that from years past with Marítimo and Rio Ave, it's a guy that there is no pushover. He knows what he's doing. I just 15th is where I was. I was blown away when you said 15th. I didn't know they were that far down in the table.
No, fifth.
Fifth. Okay, that sounded a lot better because the numbers after that did not seem to add up. You know what? It's a game where we're going to play our strongest 11. Yes, we do have a busy January, but all the games kind of are they're at a level where okay, you play a league game against Guimarães, but then you have a Taça da Liga game. So you have a lot of games packed in there, but you could rotate the squad a little bit. So that looks good to me at this point. What doesn't look good to me sometimes is you see the month as a whole, and so you kind of lose focus because it looks somewhat easy. But let's hope we don't fall into that.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll just have to see, but never an easy game. Let's start heading into the final stage here of the podcast. Let's go with some transfer news. Benfica confirmed Marcelo Hermes from Grêmio until 2021, 22-year-old left back from Grêmio. And from what I've read, not the best left back in Brazil, but still young with potential. Perhaps defending it not his strongest suit, but he is a guy that likes to support the front line. Steve, this kind of, I'm liking this. You know why I'm liking this? Not because Benfica is returning to Brazil to get left backs, but because Benfica is. And look, I never seen Hermes play. I don't know of his talent. Only what I've read. To be a deliberate planning here by Benfica to safeguard against possible exits. I mean, the way Grimaldo played in the beginning of the season, and the way as much of little blurbs that we've heard in the media that this team is interested, this team is interested, this team is looking at him. Pretty good planning by Benfica, not to leave it to the last minute to grab a guy.
Yeah, for sure. Grimaldo, I think our best luck is that he got injured just at the moment that he did. I'm hoping that if he returns, it's late January. I know he came out on social media and said that he probably wasn't going to be ready for Guimarães yet, which is good. Good because I don't want to lose him until the summer, personally. The foresight that we had to go out and get a guy that's a left back is it all depends on how good this guy is. I mean, if he's another Bruno Cortes, foresight meant nothing. But if he's a guy who could be used still this year, if Grimaldo is to go, and even if he's still around, if we could use him instead of an off-footed Almeida on the left, who has actually played quite well, I will have to say. But if we could use him as a left-footed left back, would be nice. I mean, time will tell, but keep your fingers crossed that Grimaldo doesn't leave until the summer.
Yeah, but you know another thing, Steve, also in addition to the foresight, is that much like the way we brought Grimaldo on, Grimaldo, if you recall, came at the middle of last year. Now we're bringing another guy in the middle of the year, which pretty much gives them the rest of the year to get used to the team, to get to know the team, to get to know the country, to adapt to Vitoria's system, whatever that may be. But it's a guy that's getting acclimated to the team and to the routine. So by next year, he's ready to go. And look, I don't have anything against Pop Sick, but Pop Sick is getting long in the tooth. He's getting slower. He's perhaps not the one guy that you'd want to have playing left back in a competitive team. Pop Sick was good. Like I said, not taking anything away, but I think that Benfica, if Benfica were to rely on Pop Six to be the left back backup for Grimaldo if he leaves, I think that Benfica are in bad shape. So I think it's a good move. I think that the mid-season acquiring of a player like this that's going to take some time to acclimate to everything, as I've mentioned, is perfect. It's the right plan. And time again, we see uh, and I don't know how much this has to do with Vitoria's technical team, but we see a deliberate planning and deliberate thinking about these things, these little details. The staying and staying away an extra day rather than traveling at night back to Portugal and losing the next day in training. All these little things are little details that you have to give a lot of credit to the technical team, and grabbing a guy mid-season, albeit not always the best move, because usually grabbing a guy during mid-season would either have to be a guy that's coming from South America or a guy that's perhaps ending his contract at the end of the season, which always makes it a seller's market, is perhaps not the best tactic. But when you could grab a guy mid-season that's not going to cost you a lot, and you can already work them until the start of the next year, I think it's a good move by Benfica.
Yeah, I agree. Especially when it, he's not going to be pressured that he has to immediately impact the team, and that's the biggest thing. He comes in mid-season. He might play a few minutes here and there, but he's not coming in January and being a guy who has to fix a problem in the team. Even if we do lose Grimaldo, Almeida's going to be first choice unless the Hermes guy comes in and he's like absolutely world class. Almeida will be first choice. So it gives him the added comfort of not having the pressure to perform so quickly. So it is, for me, it's a smart move, but only his quality will show how smart it actually is.
Yeah, that's right. Also, when we're talking about foresight, Pedro Pereiro, which is at
Yes.
Sampdoria, that has been talked about joining Benfica. Sampdoria has just signed a Polish right back, which basically opens the door to Pedro Pereira. I don't know how strong Benfica are in these negotiations, but this is a little bit of a more foresight, because if Nelson Smith continues to play the way he has played, there will be teams coming after him come the summertime.
If Samidu keeps playing the way he's played, there's no way we can hold him in the summer. The transfer fee, whatever his clause is, which is probably 40 million, just like everybody else's, will be, if not beat, we'll get like 30 million, which you can never say no to for a right back, and he'll just go. He's been so good for this first half of the season that if he continues this type of form, all the big teams are going to be looking at him, all of them.
Yeah. Also being talked about, and I think that somebody, Marcelo or Tancredi, I don't know what the fuck his name is. What's his name, Steve?
I know exactly who you're talking about, and I can't remember.
I don't think it's Marcelo.
No, it's not Marcelo. It's a. Oh,
anyway,
that's gonna bother me.
he was talking about Sferovic. Sferovic. Steve, you know what Sferovic is in Portuguese?
No, but you could tell me.
It's that foam that comes with your TV.
Oh, styrofoam.
Styrofoam. It's Sferovic.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So it could be Sferovic too. I don't know.
Regardless of how you pronounce his name, I saw I saw his numbers. I saw a post on, I believe it was Gordvaya Beliza. If not, it was Ontem Vit no Estádio da Luz. I can't remember which one it was. But basically, it showed off his stats, and then it was like, why are we going out to buy another De Patre? And I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. So
Yeah.
whoever this
So
guy is, whatever this styrofoam guy is, and wherever he plays, because right now I can't remember, they could keep him. And I
yeah,
know that's
20
harsh, but
the 24-year-old that plays for Eintracht Frankfurt. I forget what his stats were. I think it was like
it was
eight.
29 games, 3 goals. I won't forget that.
Yeah, it was 80 games, 18 goals over the span of the last 2 years. So
80
I
and
mean,
18, 1 and
so,
4. That's not
so,
that bad.
yeah, I think that was the stat that I saw.
29 and 3. That looked a lot worse to me.
Yeah, is well, maybe he had a very
The math
productive
isn't my
year.
strong.
Maybe he had a very productive year last year, and this year's not doing so well. But according to the reports, 2 million, and he's actually ends his contract this June. So Benfica could get him for 2 million, and I think that Eintracht was going to be receptive to an offer from Benfica, so they don't lose him on a free. There's been talks about Raúl Jimenez going to Liverpool. You believe that?
Um, I I don't know what to say about that. I could see how Klopp would want a guy who has that work rate, that desire, but I don't know, man. I don't know if I I don't see the quality in Jimenez that a team like Liverpool will want him. I mean, I just don't see it. Was it against Passos that he tried to do some weird Rabona freaking cross for no stupid apparent reason? I I
Almost broke
don't.
his leg. Yeah,
I'm not on the Jimenez bandwagon. I don't know if I ever will be.
yeah. So I mean, we'll see. Luis Felipe did say he was probably going to be the biggest sell for Benfica in the history
Yeah,
of
for
Benfica.
China or Russia. Oops.
Yeah. Somebody's also rumored that there's, as you mentioned already on the pod,
Zenit.
Zenit interest in Samaris with Axel Witzel leaving for China for a boatload of cash. Can you believe this guy? He had an offer from Juventus, and he decided to go to China. It's great, man. And the thing is that the guy is so talented that who advises this kid? Seriously.
Dude, money talks. I that's the only explanation. I mean, they pay the Chinese pay a premium basically to for players to live and play in a league that doesn't get that much coverage worldwide. And a lot of these guys are biting. I mean, I don't I kind of disconnected from football for I don't know the past couple of weeks with the holidays and whatnot. But even Oscar just went to China
Oscar
from Chelsea.
Tevez, the
Te-
highest paid player in the whole world.
Tevez, I could see already. He was already in Argentina. He's had a bit of a career in Europe, but Oscar is basically just starting out.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, you got Ramirez over there also, right?
Again, a guy who won a Champions League, he won a league at Benfica. He's been around.
Yeah.
Oscar, I don't know. I just think he's a bit young.
Yeah, I don't get the Axel Witzel. I mean, you want to play for the best clubs in Europe, not go to I mean, how much money is enough
That's what
money,
I
you know?
think. Yeah, that's where I go. I mean, personally, this is just me speaking. I don't have these numbers thrown at me, but you probably will have a hard time spending all the money you're going to make at a Zenit, at a Juventus. What are you going to do with all these extra millions? I guess you're going to live stupid extravagantly. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. Also, I can neither confirm nor deny, but I think that Joel Pereira, which was the goalie that was at Bologna on loan to Manchester United, I think he's going to be included in the Lindelof deal, which will most likely be done by the middle of next week.
I've seen that rumor. That is probably added cover for a possible Ederson switch in the summer too, which is again foresight, not a bad move.
Yep.
I don't know how good this Joel Pereira guy is. I know I've heard about him for a few years. I've seen very limited action of him, so I can't comment.
Yeah, he's 20 years old. And it'd be perfect for him to step in and have Julio Cesar mentor him. And also even Paul Lopes mentor him. So it'd be perfect. But I think that Manchester United just recalled him from loan for Belenenses, but something tells me that he's going to be included in a deal with Lindelof, I think. That's where this is going to fall. It's another good move by Benfica in foresight, albeit we don't know his true value, but nonetheless, he's a guy that has shown tremendous potential. He's had teams look at him while at Belenenses, and we'll just see what happens. But I think that Benfica snatches him up in the Lindelof deal. And look, Mourinho is very capable of doing that. Didn't he trade Matic when we sent David Luiz over there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then he
So,
goes back and gets Matic back. So maybe they'll get this Joel Pereira guy again too.
hey, when you got money, and I'm not talking about China money, you could do these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do some Twitter questions. Let's see. Here's one from Francisco Marcelino. As things are, where does Zivkovic stand in the wingers hierarchy?
I would. I'm really hoping he's finally past Carrillo, and we'll get more minutes than him. So you got Servi, Rafa, Gedge, because Gedge, like I said, I think is going to be squeezed there, and then Zivkovic.
Yeah, I think that he definitely won some points just yesterday with Rui Vitória. But Rui Vitória also mentioned in the press that he's a very, very good player, but he's still missing some things. So obviously he's being worked on by Rui Vitória, and Rui Vitória feels that his integration in the team needs to be slower. In the meantime, I still think that he's behind Carrillo.
I
Maybe
think so.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe with the performance that he put in um, just yesterday, maybe that gives him a couple ticks. But he's a guy that we have a lot of hopes for. So we'll see what happens. Here's one from Meg. With Jonas and Mitro playing well, where does Raul stand in starting?
He's
Um,
first off the bench.
Yeah, I think that the Mitro Jonas combination has proven successful, especially in last year. Chris has said this many times that Mitro glue is dependent on Jonas. Raul, I don't know how much Raul can blend in with Jonas's style. That's our biggest thing. I mean, trust me, I like Raul. I just think that maybe his style is not the best for Jonas. And, Jonas, with the importance that he has to this team, it's probably Rui Vitória has to cater to that.
Yeah.
Francisco Marcelino wants the best Benfica 11 with all the players since 2009 2010, first JJ season. That's
Wow.
we would have to go back a while to do that.
That's some thinking, man. I'll try to tweet that at you.
Yeah.
How's that? To put me on the spot now is difficult, but I'll try to tweet that at you.
Yeah. I mean, Steve, best goalie. Oblak or Ederson? Or Keane? I mean, we could be here for a couple hours if we're
Exactly.
trying to figure this out.
I think I prefer Oblak.
Yeah. I mean, Ederson is a monster, but Oblak was.
I
The thing is about both of those guys. There's practically almost no emotion from those guys. They could be doing like the best saves the world has ever seen, and the facial expressions is the same over and over from those two guys. It's amazing.
yeah. I, I it's hard because you have those Ederson saves in your memory. But I remember Oblak being good with both feet. I remember him having the both saves. I remember being really good on crosses.
Yeah.
That's where my hunch is. That's where I lean.
Yeah.
I'll try to tweet it at you. I'll think about that.
Here's another one from Francisco Marcelino. He's saying that Lima is being linked with Porto in the latest hours. You think to have an impact in our league.
Yep.
I don't know. You know, for for the options that Porto has, I think he has it. But
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be sad. It'll be a sad day if I see Lima in Porto's colors.
Same.
Um,
I think he could make a difference. I still think he'd probably be uh second choice to the young kid Silva, but he's a good player. He knows our league. Yeah, sometimes it looks like he can't hit the side of a barn, but when he's confident and in the mood, he scores quite a bit of goals. He drags defenses around. I think he could make a difference. Let's hope he doesn't go there.
yeah. Here's Francisco Marcelino is just monopolizing the
He's on a
questions.
roll.
If we win the Tetra, who do you guys think will have a bigger crisis in the end of the season, Porto or Sporting?
That's a very good question. I think another trophyless season for Porto is a big deal.
Yeah,
Big deal.
you got a couple things here. I think that the way Porto has gone so far, and the way they've decided to um, hide, excuse me, the way they've decided to hide between referee performances after um, robbing people blind for so many years back in the 80s and the 90s. They've kind of set the tone to tell everyone. I mean, they're keeping a tally of how many penalties are not called against them, for God's sake. I mean, the way they've been, yes, I agree with you, Steve, that another trophyless season for Porto. But I mean, I think they've already victimized themselves this season. That they're conditioned the fans to think that okay, we're not winning the season, but look how many bad refereeing decisions we've had against us. As far as Sporting, man, huge investment on JJ. We all know how much money JJ has been paid to be there. Also, Bruno Carvalho, for as much as he talks, ever since he's been to Sporting has not beaten Benfica, even though they won two or three titles that they won in the 50s or 40s or 30s, whatever. I think it's going to be huge for Sporting because you know, fans want the results, and with the big investment on the coach, they were expecting that JJ could just bring that club to life, but it hasn't happened. Um, and the cryptic says that Julie Cesar is injured. I did think that he was injured, but I thought I saw him in practice. I don't know how healthy he is. I think he's working out with the team, but perhaps not completely healthy. Your boy Hodge, can't wait to see what this team could look like with Servi, Zivkovic, Grimald, and Smith overwhelming teams on the wings. Yeah, that's a dangerous combination, and it's all attacking. There's not a lot of defending going on there.
Who needs defense?
I want to do another one by Francisco Marcelino, but he's just taking over these questions. Here's one for you. Here's one for you from Francisco Marcelino. Which scenario would you pick for the season? A, winning all home competitions, plus Champions League defeated finalist, or B, winning only the Champions League?
B.
Yeah, I mean, winning the Champions League is something that stays with you for a long time internationally. I mean, I think that winning all competitions at home is significant also, but winning the Champions League, that will linger for a good time. Um,
I'm pretty confident that I'll see Benfica win all domestic competitions again in my lifetime. I can't say the same about thinking that I'll see a Champions League win from us in my lifetime. So
yeah, I mean, it would be great, just like it was great to see Portugal win a Euro championship in our lifetime. It would be great to see Benfica win the Champions League in a lifetime. But I think that that winning the Champions League these days are meant for teams that are super millionaire teams and that have a huge budget to have players to have the best players in the world. I think that a little team has very little chances um, of winning the Champions League. Um, Here's one from Portuguese soccer. Soccer. Can you confirm slash deny that Tensio 10 was offered an afternoon time slot for Benfica radio station? No, I don't know. I'm sure he would love that, but I don't know. I think that Cristiano is just sick. He told me he had the flu, so he hasn't been doing well. Your boy Hodge had Benfica had the solution at number 8, but rumor has it it's going to Italy on an 18-month loan. Who's that, dude? I don't know who
Yeah,
that
missing
is. Who is the number 8 that's
Danilo.
going?
Is it Danilo? Because I know there's talk about Danilo being placed elsewhere because George Min's probably not happy that he's not playing much. But I didn't read whatever he's saying. I saw AC Milan interested in Pizzi. Saw that.
Yeah, I don't AC Milan and Pizzi. Well, this
I read that.
I don't know. Tweet at us, Paul, and let us know who this guy is because I'm drawing a blank. Diogo Reis, Happy New Year to all the boys at Benfica podcast. Once Jonas rounds into form and Zivko continues to show great promise, what's our lineup?
My guess is just the front four because the guys behind that is kind of hard to decipher depending whether Grimaldo stays, Lindelof stays, who gets back injured. But front four, Jonas, Mitroglou. I'm still thinking I prefer Rafa and Servi, but I think it's going to be Gedrin and Rafa. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that if Zivkovic comes into his full potential, I think that it's Rafa on one side, Zivkovic on the other. Even though I think Zivkovic more of I don't know, dude. I don't know.
This year, I think it is too soon for Zivkovic to be a starter. Well, it would be a big drastic change. I mean, like you just said, Rui Vitória said that he's still missing some things. I just think it's too far. I think Servi and Rafa and even Gedge have of nailing down an 11 spot.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see, man. Trust me, it's good to have all these options, and it's good that we're entertaining these conversations with which guy could play and which guy could not, because there's a lot of doubt in our minds of what guys could play where, because they're all very good players. So if they weren't good players, we wouldn't even be having these conversations. So it's good to have these conversations when we know that there's guys in the wings ready to take over and ready to do a good job for this team. Trust me, it's a very good headache. Andy Cryptic, for when a podcast in Portuguese?
Com ele nunca. Com o Chris e o Alfredo pode ser, mas com ele, no, not gonna happen.
So there you go. There's Steven is
isn't it?
There's Steven is best Portuguese. Com eu nunca. So I mean, podcast em português ia ser mais comédia e mais gozo da maneira como a gente fala do que outra coisa. Mas eu falo bem português, o Chris também fala bem português. Podíamos fazer um podcast em português, mas a maior parte das vezes a nossa gramática não ia ser a melhor e não íamos encontrar as melhores palavras para descrever o que nós estamos a pensar. Mas nunca se sabe. Eu acho que nós nos...
Ok. Para de gravar com esse português tão bom, ok?
Nós expressamos melhor em inglês e we're gonna stay in English. Let's see. Your boy Hodge. Oh, Tarabt!
Get out of here.
Saying our 8 is going to Italy. I don't know, dude. There's a lot of talk about him going to the Depor.
That's right.
Nobody will take Nobody will take this freaking guy. He's not an 8.
There was Depor talks. Yeah, he's not an 8. But there was Depor talks, and there was what was the team in Italy now? Pescara? I don't remember.
Yeah, Pescara. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of talk, but he's making huge money right now. Benfica wants somebody to support some of those wages, and nobody's willing to support his wages because he's not going to be doing much but partying out there.
No,
you're going to pay a guy to party and not make a significant impact on your team, or an immediate impact on your team.
No, Taarabt is our burden, I think, for as long as his contract is. But
Yeah, it's Rui Costa's cross to bear, I think.
yeah, that's what it seems like.
So that's it. That's all we got. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye. No,
Ciao.
no, we always say it's going to be a short one. It's always going to be a short one. It always ends up being an hour.
Over
Thank
an
you,
hour.
thank you for all your questions. It's the questions that fill up some of the space. Don't forget to check out our friends over planetbenfica.co.uk. Also at 10CO10 is where you can find Chris. At Steve Santos 6 at Benfica Podcast is where you can follow us on Twitter. BenficaPodcast.com. Also on Facebook. What else we're at? Well, we're a bunch of places. I don't know.
We're all over
Thank
the place.
Yeah, thanks everybody for checking us out. Thank you for all your support throughout the past year. We're hoping that we could bring more quality podcasts to you throughout this year, and hopefully we'll see Benfica winning the Tetra. That's about it. Thank you very much. I will be back again next Tuesday, and we'll discuss the Benfica game against
I, I'm,
Guimarães.
I'm still chuckling about the way I butchered Honestly, guys, I'm not that bad, but I'm not good enough to do a Portuguese podcast.
Yeah. Well, I think it was a great example of why we can't do it.
All right, guys. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, buddy.
See ya.
See ya.